Welcome back, everybody. I am the Comic Plug, and I am joined today by
Roshan.
Roshan is my life partner. She's my wife. She's my beautiful, tolerant, lovely wife. Are you not? Look at that. Show that bling off. So today, we want to talk about where did that phrase come from? I think it's funny how some phrases that we use in our daily vernacular that we don't even know where those come from. And then at the end, we're going to tackle the F word. Like, where did that originate? And what are the theories on that? So I'm going to be reading from my notes right here. So it's unfair for Rashawn. So, Rashawn, what does this phrase mean? Kick the bucket.
Somebody did.
Okay. Where do you think that phrase came from?
I don't know.
So, the phrase kick the bucket, excuse me, guys, while I read, goes back to 1785, and it appeared in Francois Gross's A Classical Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue. The phrase is based and solely on the accounts that there was a man that stood on a bucket and himself by kicking the bucket out from underneath him. It kind of correlates to what you think and what the phrase means, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first one. We have 9 more to go. How about spill the beans? What does the term or phrase spill the beans means?
Somebody that know information. That when somebody plays, spilled beans.
So what you mean is somebody that divulges information then?
Yeah.
Okay. So where do you think that came from? This is interesting. Like, this one is crazy. But where do you think that came from?
Some Italian era.
Wow. Is that racist? Is my wife racist?
No, you asked me.
Well, Roshan, it originated in ancient Greece because back then, that's the way that they cast silent votes. A white bean meant yes, a black bean meant no, and they would put them in a jar. And then sometimes the arguments would get heated in the Senate, and someone would knock over the beans and show what the vote was prematurely. That's where that came from. And that kind of, I don't know if the actual meaning where it's derived from is what it means, although the end result does. So how about, and let's go with cat got your tongue? What does that mean?
The person that just don't say anything.
Okay, so yes, I think that is like someone that doesn't speak out or stuff. Where do you think that came from? This is trippy too. In witchcraft, there was a spell that would render people speechless. It was thought to be that they would then take the tongues of their victims and feed them to cats. And that was from 1881. And just to remind you, spill the beans came from ancient Greece. I don't have the date on that. Let's say 300 BC. How about let the cat out of the bag? What does that mean?
Somebody that, like a surprise.
Okay, like divulging like a secret.
Yeah.
Where do you think that came from? Don't ever take my wife on Family Feud because you'll never like clap your hands and be like, good answer, good answer. They'll be like, just answer, just answer. Okay, so now this came from where dishonest livestock vendors would sell a piglet or a pig in a poke, they called it, in a bag, but substituted that piglet and put a cat in there instead. And when the buyer would open the bag, the cat would run away, exposing the scam. And that was from 1530.
Wow.
That's letting the cat out of the bag. So, and that's where the term pig in a poke came from too. A poke is just a bag that they used to keep them in. All right. How about the phrase bite the bullet? What does that mean?
Sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet. Just gotta take one. Take one for the team.
Take one for the team. Yeah, I've had to bite the bullet once or twice in my lifetime. Damn my friends. Okay, where do you think that came from?
Washington.
That came from, like
Like
I don't know. Can you guys
I
hear
don't
her?
know.
Because she's so far from the mic.
Washington.
Like
There.
the state or George Washington himself?
State.
Okay, so maybe, but it came from the Civil War time, 1850s. Anesthesia was yet to be created. And when the soldiers were in the field and they had to be operated on, the people would give them a bullet, a live chamber to bite down on to keep themselves from screaming, grinding their teeth, or biting off their own tongue.
Mm.
So that is the most literal of terms, biting the bullet. How about barking up the wrong tree?
You went in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like that guy that made that content about me this week. He barked up the wrong... Look, I'm not going to ever let that go. I'm Captain Petty Pants right here. But yeah, that's what it means. So where did it come from?
Oakland.
It,
I don't know.
okay, so Oakland ain't been around.
California.
Back in 1832, prior to California and Oakland, Jesus Christ, while dogs were used to hunt prey, they would routinely lose the scent and go to the wrong tree. It's when they used to hunt pheasants and things like that. Oakland, Jesus Christ. What am I doing? Why? What am I doing wrong, Jesus? How about not my cup of tea? You better not start crying over there. You better not start crying. Guys, she gets on these giggle runs and then she starts crying. And now, look, she's doing it. And then she blames me. Stop it. Not my cup of tea.
Person you don't like.
Or how about just something that you don't like?
Mm-hmm.
All right, where do you think it came from? Oh, that's great. Great answer. Great answer. Great answer. It was during the 17th century where tea meant much more than just a beverage. And the phrase was to alert other people that they weren't into something. And it's kind of like the obvious one, not my cup of tea, because like tea back then, especially over in England and Europe, especially England, tea was like the biggest thing. It was meant for socializing and things like that. It wasn't just a beverage. How people flock to Starbucks for no apparent reason with their horrible coffee and overpriced drinks. I'm sorry. That was wrong. I apologize to all Starbucks lovers out there. All 16 of the viewers that are going to watch this, I apologize to you. How about put all the eggs in one basket?
Doing too much.
I guess, yeah. Where do you think it came from? Let me guess. Sacramento. Atlanta, GA. No, definitely Atlanta. Hotlanta. Oh my God. I apologize ahead of time because she's going to go at it for the next 5 minutes. Y'all just watch her giggling and crying, wiping her eyes. Look. She's like a Korean when she laughs. Look at her. Jesus. Okay, how about putting all your eggs in one basket? Where did it come from? Stop cheating.
I can't see it.
Yeah, because you got tears in your eyes. If you didn't hear that, she says she didn't know. 1605 is when it started, and it was when villagers would carry eggs in baskets to market or home. And the eggs are fragile, and the baskets sometimes would tip over. Plus, the compressed weight could break the eggs, and that would cost them people food and in some cases profits. So that's what they meant is don't put all your eggs in one basket. You should have divided them out, carried 2 baskets instead of 1. So it kind of makes sense. How about at the drop of a hat? What does that mean?
That you gotta stop what you're doing at a drop of a hat. I don't know. I don't think I've heard that.
You've never heard that phrase before?
I don't even know.
At a drop of a hat. At a drop of a hat, the race stopped. Kind of like things like that. Okay, so this came from the 1830s. I'm not going to bother by asking her where it's from. Because so help me God, she says Topeka, Kansas. It was from the 1830s, and here's a fun fact. Hats were used to signal the starts of races, acrobatics, and duels. So when you drop the hat, that's when something starts to be or ends. And the last one is burn the midnight oil. What does that mean?
I've never heard that.
Okay. So it came from 1623, and in the 17th century, oil for lamps was hard to come by. It was expensive. And using them all night was unnecessary and unwanted. The cost was too high for the common folks. So when people would stay up all night, they would burn the midnight oil. All right. So we're going on to the next thing, which is the big F word. You know which word I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not going to say that word, but we're going to talk about it. So it has Germanic roots. The sexual meaning of the sense, that's where the Germanic roots come from. The sexual meaning means to strike or to move back and forth. That's the root of it. The common German pronunciation is Fukan. That's my neighbor. He can burn it. From the verbal root fug, or to blow, it may trace back to Indo-European root, meaning fuk or feg, to strike. Conjugated root with Latin words like pugno, I fight, or pugnis, fist. The earliest English reference was in 1310. And it was in a court record that mentioned a man named Roger. I'm not going to screw this up. Roger fucking Bidenavol. But that's a name. There's a lot of consonants. But in 1278, John Le Fouquer used it to describe a soldier. Now, there's a popular myth out there, and I've used this myth before. The spelling of the F-U-C, you know what I'm saying? And it stands for unlawful carnal knowledge. And he said that a king had started that. And it was law that if you use that, if you had used carnal knowledge without their permission, that you got arrested. So that's a myth. This word is not derived from any Latin roots or even French futur. So when we come down to it, that word right there in English vernacular means so much more. And it's used as a noun, adjective, adverb, pronoun, everything. An action. Like how many times, now she doesn't really cuss, guys, but how many times do you think in your head you use that word on a daily basis?
Not that much. Not daily. I'll say 2.
I use it 200 plus times a day. And that's all the way from when I wake up and get out of the bed and my back is hurting. That's the start of it. So at the end of the night, when it's just me and her and something might be going on, that word is going to be used at least 5 times for me, maybe once from her. But the funny thing is about that word is that we have vilified that word so much that made it such a hated word. And what's going to happen is in another show, she and I are going to talk about those words that trigger people, right?
Yeah.
Because we've all heard those words, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
That trigger us. And no, we're not going to talk about the N word. That's not going to be it. That's low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. Okay? Well, as always, what do we want them to do, Roshan?
Subscribe, turn notifications on.
Yeah, like and comment. And guys, as always, I am the Comic Plug, and she is...
Your wife.
She does have a name.
Roshan.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, as always, peace. Love you guys. See you later.